Have you ever wondered which World War II movies truly capture the grit, sacrifice, and mind-bending twists of real history? From explosive prison breaks and covert missions behind enemy lines to the desperate defense of entire nations, some films don't just dramatize the war, they drop you right into the chaos. Today, we're not ranking the usual suspects. We're counting down 17 legendary WWII classics that define the genre, shaped how we remember the past, and still leave us breathless decades later. Ready to relive history's most epic moments? Let's begin. Number 17. A Bridge Too Far. Sometimes, the most ambitious plans are the ones that unravel the quickest. At number 17, we have A Bridge Too Far, the sweeping 1977 epic that chronicles Operation Market Garden, one of the most audacious and ultimately tragic campaigns of World War II, directed by Richard Attenborough and packed with an all-star cast. The film recreates the Allies' daring attempt to outflank the Nazis in the Netherlands by capturing a series of key bridges. What makes A Bridge Too Far stand out is its unflinching honesty. There's no sugarcoating here. The film meticulously details how the plan, designed by Field Marshal Montgomery, looked perfect on paper. But in practice, everything that could go wrong did. Communication breakdowns, unexpected German resistance, missed drops, and even the weather seemed to conspire against the Allies. The film doesn't just show the battle's grand scale, but also its chaos. You feel the tension as British paratroopers are surrounded in Arnhem, cut off, and desperately holding on. Attenborough balances massive action scenes with personal stories, giving you both the bird's-eye view and the ground-level struggle. And those iconic shots of paratroopers filling the sky, still breathtaking. A Bridge Too Far is both a cautionary tale and a tribute. It reminds us that war isn't just about bold moves and big speeches. It's also about the unforeseen, the unlucky, and the unbreakable spirit of those who endure. As a World War II movie, it's as thorough and as grand as they come, and that's why it earns its place on this list. Number 16. Battle of Britain. Few battles were as decisive and as cinematic as the one waged in the skies over England in 1940. Battle of Britain brings that story to vivid life, telling the tale of how outnumbered RAF pilots held the line against the relentless Luftwaffe onslaught. This 1969 classic, directed by Guy Hamilton, is a love letter to the Spitfire and Hurricane, and a masterclass in aerial cinematography. What sets Battle of Britain apart is its commitment to authenticity. Real planes, real stunts, and real danger. The filmmakers gathered dozens of genuine World War II aircraft, assembling one of the largest fleets of Spitfires and Messerschmitts since the actual war. When you see those dogfights on screen, you're not watching CGI. You're seeing some of the finest stunt pilots of the era, risking everything to recreate the desperate struggle for Britain's survival. But the movie is more than just a series of thrilling dogfights. It captures the mood of a nation on the brink, the tension in command bunkers, the heartbreak of loss, and the camaraderie of the pilots, many barely out of their teens. There's no single hero. The battle itself is the protagonist. Through spectacular visuals and a stirring score, Battle of Britain immortalizes the moment when the few defended the many. It's not just a war film. It's a flying, spinning, roaring tribute to the courage that changed the course of history. Number 15. Casablanca. Now, for a film where war is both backdrop and pressure cooker. Casablanca isn't just a WWII movie. It's a touchstone of American cinema. Released in 1942, while the world was still at war, Michael Curtis's classic weaves romance, espionage, and patriotism into an unforgettable tapestry, all set against the shadows and intrigue of a Moroccan nightclub. Humphrey Bogart's Rick Blaine is the world-weary owner of Rick's Café Américain, a man who says he sticks his neck out for nobody, but is haunted by lost love and looming war. When Ingrid Bergman's Ilse Lund walks back into his life, with her resistance leader husband in tow, Rick faces a choice between personal happiness and a greater cause. The stakes, everything. The setting, a city of refugees, informants, and shifting alliances where every glance and every line of dialogue drips with tension. What gives Casablanca its timeless power isn't just the romance or the endlessly quotable script. It's the way it captures the war's moral gray zones, where even the smallest acts of decency could tip the balance. The Nazis are always a presence, lurking in the background, tightening their grip. With legendary supporting turns from Claude Rains and Paul Henreid, a moody, fog-filled airport climax, and the most iconic closing line in cinema, Casablanca is as much about what's at stake as what's at heart. Play it again, Sam. For as long as movies are made, we'll always have Casablanca. Number 14, From Here to Eternity, Pearl Harbor, a place and a moment that changed the world forever. From Here to Eternity, based on James Jones's novel, isn't just about the bombs falling, it's about the lives swept up before the attack. Director Fred Zinnemann crafts a drama that's both sweeping and deeply personal, set on a Hawaiian army base in the tense months leading up to December 7, 1941. The film is best remembered for its all-star cast: Burt Lancaster, Montgomery Clift, Deborah Kerr, Donna Reed, and a career-redefining Frank Sinatra. They play soldiers and civilians wrestling with love, duty, honor, and scandal, all under the shadow of impending war. The famous beach scene between Lancaster and Kerr, iconic. But so too are the scenes of bullying, camaraderie, and small, stubborn acts of rebellion. When the attack finally comes, it's brutal, sudden, and heartbreaking. But the real power of From Here to Eternity is how it shows the everyday struggles of people caught in the gears of history. The film swept the 1954 Oscars, winning 8, and set a new standard for ensemble acting. It's not just a love story or a war story, it's a story about what we cling to and what we sacrifice when the world turns upside down. For anyone who wants to feel the human side of history, this is a must-see. Number 13, Overlord. Some war movies are blockbusters. Others sneak up on you, quiet, raw, and all the more powerful for it. Overlord is the latter. Released in 1975 and directed by Stuart Cooper, this film blurs the line between fiction and reality, seamlessly blending newly shot footage with actual archival film from the D-Day landings. At its core, Overlord is the story of Tom, a young British conscript who's swept up in the machinery of war. We see him train, joke with mates, endure the tedium, and face the growing dread as the countdown to Operation Overlord, the Normandy invasion, draws closer. The film's greatest trick, making us feel the slow, inexorable pull of fate. There's no Hollywood heroism here, just the haunting certainty of what's coming. The archival footage, gritty, grainy, and all too real, anchors Overlord in history. By the time the landing crafts hit the beach, the film has built a sense of empathy that makes the violence all the more shattering. There's poetry in the quiet moments, a look, a letter, the sound of distant artillery. Overlord is less about triumph than it is about the loss and randomness of war. It's a haunting lyrical meditation on innocence lost, and one of the most honest war films ever made. Number 12, Patton. General George S. Patton was a legend, a warrior, a genius, and, let's face it, a bit of a wild card. Patton, the 1970 biopic starring George C. Scott, is more than just a portrait. It's an immersion into the mind of a man who saw himself as history's instrument. The movie opens with one of the most famous scenes ever filmed, Patton, bathed in the light of an enormous American flag, delivering a blistering speech to his troops. It's bravado, poetry, and challenge, all rolled into one. But the film doesn't just dwell on the myth. It explores Patton's brilliance and his flaws, his belief in destiny, his clashes with superiors, and his controversial outbursts. Patton is both a war epic and a psychological study. The North African campaign, the breakout from Normandy, the push into Germany, all are depicted with gritty realism and grandeur. But it's Scott's performance that makes the film sing. He becomes Patton, capturing both the glory and the contradictions. The film won 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Actor. It's a masterpiece of scope and character, a reminder that victory is often shaped by personalities as much as plans. Number 11, Rome, Open City. Sometimes history's most powerful stories are told in the ashes of war. Rome, Open City filmed in 1945 as the ruins still smoldered, is a landmark of Italian neorealism and one of the most influential war movies ever made. Directed by Roberto Rossellini, it plunges you into Nazi-occupied Rome, where resistance fighters risk everything for freedom. What makes this film unforgettable is its raw authenticity. The cast includes both professional actors and ordinary Romans, some of whom had lived through the events on screen. There are no elaborate sets, just real streets, battered buildings, and people for whom the war was not a memory, but a daily fight. The story follows resistance leader Giorgio Manfredi as he's hunted by the Gestapo, with help from a brave priest and a courageous woman. The tension is relentless, the betrayal's devastating. But there's also hope in the acts of kindness, solidarity, and sacrifice that define the resistance. Rome, open city, is gritty, immediate, and heartbreakingly real. It's not just a movie about war, it's a cry for humanity in the face of inhumanity. For anyone seeking to understand the spirit of occupied Europe, this is the place to start. Number 10. The Big Red One. Not all World War II stories are about generals and grand strategy. Sometimes the real heart of history lies in the boots-on-the-ground view, the grunts, the privates, the ones just trying to make it through the day. The Big Red One brings that world to the screen. Directed by Samuel Fuller, who himself served in the 1st Infantry Division, the film is a gritty, unvarnished account of a squad's journey from North Africa to Sicily, France, and finally Germany. This isn't a film about big speeches or sweeping victories. Instead, it's about survival, adaptation, and the strange moments of humanity that persist even on the battlefield. Lee Marvin, world-weary and magnetic, leads his squad with a mixture of cynicism and care. He knows war isn't about medals, it's about getting your guys home. What gives The Big Red One its authenticity is that it comes straight from Fuller's own memories. The violence is sudden, the humor is dark, and the line between right and wrong is always blurred. The camaraderie among the men feels real because it is. They're flawed, funny, sometimes terrified, always human. There is no Superman here, just soldiers enduring one impossible situation after another. The Big Red One isn't just a war movie. It's a lived experience, a love letter to survival, and one of the most honest portrayals of the Second World War ever filmed. Number 9. The Dam Busters. Some war stories are so incredible, they'd sound like fiction if they weren't true. The Dam Busters, released in 1955, tells one such story. The film recounts Operation Chastise, the audacious Royal Air Force mission to destroy German dams using the famous bouncing bomb, an invention that combined science, ingenuity, and a whole lot of guts. The heart of the film is engineer Barnes Wallace, who risks his career and the lives of hundreds of airmen on a weapon that skips across the water like a stone. The buildup is tense, the science real, and the skepticism palpable. When the mission is finally launched, the tension is overwhelming. The sight of Lancasters skimming low over enemy territory, racing to drop their bombs at just the right moment, is still as suspenseful as ever. But The Dam Busters isn't just about blowing things up. It's about the price paid for innovation and victory. Not every pilot makes it home. Not every dam is destroyed. The film is a tribute to the teamwork, courage, and sacrifice required for victory, and a reminder that sometimes changing the course of history depends on those who are willing to try the impossible. The film's iconic theme has echoed through pop culture ever since, even influencing the music for Star Wars. For history buffs, The Dam Busters is essential viewing, blending thrilling action with true British grit. Number 8. The Dirty Dozen. If ever there was a war film that revealed bad behavior and unlikely heroes, it's The Dirty Dozen. Directed by Robert Aldrich, this 1967 classic isn't your typical tale of duty and honor. Instead, it's a wild ride with a cast of misfits, criminals, outcasts, and troublemakers, offered a shot at redemption through a suicidal mission behind enemy lines. Lee Marvin commands the screen as Major Reisman, the tough, unorthodox officer charged with whipping these men into shape. The training sequences are rough, the banter is sharp, and the odds of success close to zero. Yet, as the men are transformed from prisoners into a fighting unit, the film finds real heart amid the chaos. What follows is part caper, part bloodbath, and all entertainment. The mission itself is as brutal as it is bold, with the dozen tasked to wipe out a gathering of Nazi officers in a heavily fortified chateau. Few expect to survive, but that's what makes their sacrifice, and their small victories, so powerful. The Dirty Dozen is a war movie with an edge. It doesn't glorify violence, but it doesn't shy away from the darkness either. It's as much about what men are willing to risk and lose for one last shot at meaning, and thanks to its unforgettable characters, it remains a perennial favorite. Number 7. The Bridge on the River Quai. There are few images in war cinema as iconic as a line of POWs whistling Colonel Bogey March across a sun-baked bridge in the jungle. The Bridge on the River Quai is more than just a film. It's an epic study in pride, madness, and the shifting sands of allegiance. Directed by David Lean, this 1957 classic adapts Pierre Boulle's novel into a tale of men caught in the crossfire between duty and survival. At the center is Colonel Nicholson, a British officer whose obsession with discipline and honor leads him to oversee the construction of a bridge for his Japanese captors. What begins as an act of resistance gradually morphs into something more ambiguous. Is it sabotage or collaboration, pride or delusion? The film is tense, beautifully shot, and full of unforgettable moments. William Holden, Sessue Hayakawa, and Jack Hawkins round out a powerhouse cast. The jungle is a character in itself, oppressive and indifferent. The climactic explosion, still jaw-dropping after all these years. The Bridge on the River Quai isn't just a story about war. It's a meditation on the contradictions at the heart of leadership and obedience. Sometimes the line between hero and fool is thinner than a bamboo rail. This film dares to walk it, and in doing so, creates a masterpiece for the ages. Number 6. The Guns of Navaron. Some war movies are all about the adrenaline rush, the ticking clock, the impossible odds, the men on a mission who have no business succeeding. The Guns of Navaron, directed by J. Lee Thompson, is the gold standard for the commando raid genre. Based on Alistair MacLean's best-selling novel, this 1961 classic throws together a motley crew of Allied specialists tasked with destroying two giant Nazi guns perched atop a sheer cliff, blocking the evacuation of British troops from a Greek island. Gregory Peck leads the cast as the quietly determined Captain Mallory, with David Niven and Anthony Quinn delivering unforgettable performances as his resourceful, bickering teammates. The journey to Navaron is a gauntlet of sabotage, betrayal, and close calls, and the film milks every ounce of suspense from its perilous set pieces. But what makes the Guns of Navaron endure isn't just the action. It's the characters' chemistry, the ethical dilemmas, and the sheer sense of scale. Every explosion, every whispered argument, every impossible climb up that cliff is made more meaningful by the tension within the group. Can they trust each other? Will they make it? Should they even try? With a rousing score, Oscar-winning special effects, and a knack for wringing suspense from every second, The Guns of Navaron is the ultimate war adventure, a tale of men who became legends because they had no other choice. Number 5, The Great Escape. If there's one movie that captures the spirit of ingenuity, resilience, and daredevilry that defined WWII POWs, it's The Great Escape. Directed by John Sturges and released in 1963, this classic isn't just a prison break film. It's the granddaddy of all escape movies, and it's based on a true story. Steve McQueen is the undisputed king of cool as Captain Virgil Hiltz, the Cooler King. But the film boasts an all-star international cast: James Garner, Richard Attenborough, Charles Bronson, and Donald Pleasance, to name just a few. They are part of a motley group of Allied airmen rounded up in Stalag Luft III, a supposedly escape-proof German POW camp. The plan? Tunnel out, under the noses of their captors. What follows is a masterpiece of suspense, camaraderie, and heartbreak. The film is meticulous in showing the details: forged documents, hidden tools, elaborate distractions, and the constant threat of discovery. Every victory feels earned, every setback gutting. But The Great Escape isn't just about breaking out. It's about what comes after. Not everyone makes it. The price of freedom can be high, and the film never lets you forget it. That iconic motorcycle chase, still electrifying. The final shot, as the music swells and the hope of escape lingers, unforgettable. This is more than a war film. It's a salute to the stubborn, unstoppable will to be free. The Great Escape is a legend, pure and simple. Number 4, The Longest Day. If you want to understand the scale, chaos, and heroism of D-Day, look no further than The Longest Day. Released in 1962 and based on Cornelius Ryan's meticulously researched book, this epic brings the Normandy landings to life like no other film before or since. Directed by a trio, Ken Anakin, Andrew Martin, and Bernhard Wicki, it boasts one of the greatest international casts ever assembled. John Wayne, Richard Burton, Robert Mitchum, Sean Connery, Henry Fonda, and many more. The Longest Day is a true ensemble piece. It shifts between American, British, French, and German perspectives, using multiple languages and authentic military advisors, including actual veterans, to capture the complexity of the operation. The film doesn't focus on one or two heroes. It honors thousands, weaving together the stories of generals, paratroopers, resistance fighters, and ordinary soldiers. The battle scenes are huge in scope and stunning in their realism. You feel the tension as paratroopers drop into darkness, as landing craft approach beaches under withering fire, and as commanders struggle to adapt plans on the fly. The movie spares no detail: the confusion, the mistakes, the small acts of bravery that shape the outcome. What really sets The Longest Day apart is its commitment to accuracy and respect for its subject. There's no jingoism here, just a clear-eyed depiction of what it took to breach Hitler's Atlantic Wall. The film remains a benchmark for war epics, and an essential primer on the day that changed the history. Number 3, The Train. Some World War II stories are told in whispers, others in the roar of engines and gunfire. Number 3, The Train. Some World War II stories are told in whispers, others in the roar of engines and gunfire. The Train is the latter, a white-knuckle thriller about art, obsession, and sabotage on the rails. Released in 1964 and directed by John Frankenheimer, the film is based on the real-life effort to prevent Nazi looting of French art treasures as the Allies advanced on Paris. Burt Lancaster stars as La Biche, a tough, taciturn railwayman and reluctant resistance fighter. His job? To stop a German colonel, played by Paul Scofield, from whisking priceless masterpieces out of France by train. What follows is a relentless, gritty battle of wits and wills. There are bombings, derailments, last-minute shunting of tracks, and plenty of close calls, all staged with real trains, real explosions, and real danger. What makes The Train unique is its physicality. Every stunt, every crash, every narrow escape is done practically, with minimal special effects. You feel the weight of iron, the grit of coal, the sweat of men racing against time. The film explores questions of value. What's worth risking your life for? Is a painting worth as much as a human life? The answers aren't easy. With taut direction, powerful performances, and a pace that never lets up, The Train is more than a war film. It's a meditation on sacrifice, art, and what we're willing to destroy, or save, in the name of civilization. Decades later, its suspense and moral weight remain undiminished. Number 2, 12 O'Clock High. Before there was Saving Private Ryan or Band of Brothers, there was 12 O'Clock High, a psychological war film that took audiences behind the scenes of the U.S. Army's daylight bombing campaign over Nazi-occupied Europe. Directed by Henry King and released in 1949, it's as much about leadership, morale, and the cost of command as it is about bombs and bullets. Gregory Peck delivers a career-defining performance as Brigadier General Frank Savage, tasked with whipping a demoralized bomber group into shape. His leadership style is uncompromising, sometimes harsh, and always human. Savage knows what's at stake. Every mission means sending young men into almost certain death, and the toll it takes is visible in every line of Peck's face. The film's air combat scenes are still gripping, mixing real combat footage with meticulously staged sequences. But what sets 12 O'Clock High apart is its willingness to explore the mental strain of war, exhaustion, fear, guilt, and the burden of responsibility. The men in Savage's group aren't just stock heroes. They're scarred, frightened, and sometimes rebellious. 12 O'Clock High was so realistic and insightful that it became required viewing in military leadership courses. It's about the invisible wounds of command, the ones medals can't heal. At its heart, it asks, what does it take to keep fighting when hope is nearly gone? The answers still resonate today. Number 1, Where Eagles Dare. And finally, swooping in at number 1 is the ultimate World War II action thriller, Where Eagles Dare. Released in 1968, directed by Brian G. Hutton, and based on Alistair MacLean's crackling novel, this film is pure adrenaline from start to finish. A masterclass in espionage, sabotage, and jaw-dropping stunts. Richard Burton and Clint Eastwood headline as Major Smith and Lieutenant Schaffer, two Allied commandos sent on an impossible mission. Infiltrate a mountaintop castle in the heart of the Bavarian Alps to rescue a captured American general. But nothing is as it seems. Double crosses, secret codes, and relentless Nazis lie around every icy corner. Where Eagles Dare is famous for its dizzying pace, spectacular set pieces, and non-stop suspense. There are cable car fights, dynamite explosions, and shootouts galore, all staged with a flair that's as stylish as it is brutal. The snowbound setting adds to the sense of isolation and danger. And the twists keep coming. Just when you think you've figured out the mission, another layer of intrigue is revealed. But what truly cements its place at the top of this list is its sheer entertainment value. The chemistry between Burton's cunning and Eastwood's stoicism is electric, and the film never lets the tension flag. It's the ultimate men-on-a-mission movie, smart, tough, and absolutely unmissable. With a rousing score, unforgettable action, and one of the most satisfying final reveals in the genre, Where Eagles Dare is wit cinema at its most thrilling. This is the high point of wartime adventure, where the stakes are global, the odds impossible, and the Eagles truly dare. There you have it, 17 films, each a window into the world's greatest conflict, each with its own lesson in courage, chaos, and survival. Whether you love your war movies packed with action, loaded with suspense, or heavy with history, these classics deliver. Thanks for joining us on this epic countdown. Like, subscribe, and drop your own favorites in the comments. Until next time, keep watching and remembering the stories that shaped our world.